Oh my, how I've missed that awesome music, and I'm sure you guys have too. Hello everybody, and yes, welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. Finally! Right? This is version 0.90, the better than ever. And with the upcoming release of version 1, which is coming in just 2 days from the day of this recording. I'm recording on Saturday, April 25th. I believe it comes out Monday, the 27th. So I just figured I'd do a little one-off Kerbal Space Program video just to get you guys in the mood and to get you ready for some more Kerbal Space Program. Today I'm going to be testing out a really awesome mod that I love from the movie Interstellar. It's called the Endurance mod. And yes, by the title of it, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's literally somebody made the Endurance and put it into Kerbal Space Program, and it just looks amazing. So we're going to be taking a look at that mod and just looking at what it looks like and seeing what it can do. I'm going to start a new game here and just call it Endurance, and we're going to go right to sandbox mode because it doesn't really work too well in career since you need to actually have all the science points to unlock it all. I believe it's like one of the highest tech to unlock, so we're just going to skip right to it. If you notice, we have a nice, lovely Endurance little flag. We're just going to accept that. I'm going to leave the difficulty at normal, and let's start. Now, I apologize, I am getting a cold. I'm actually right dead smack in the middle of the cold. So I apologize for any sniffles and snarfles and sneezes and other really gross noises that I might make. I'll try not to make them at you. I'll try to turn my head if I have to. But here we are at the lovely Space Center, and let's just take a look at some of the mods I have installed. I wrote them down. Yes, I have the Endurance mod, and with that Endurance mod, you actually need two other mods to go with it in order for it to work. The Raster Prop mod and the Kerbal Attachment System I do have installed as well. Also, I have the Kerbal Engineer mod, the most up-to-date version, which just looks so sleek and awesome. And I also have the Astronomer's Visual Pack, but the Edge of Oblivion version, which is the version that I used in my Kerbal career mode. But I have some little tweaks to it added on. I added on the Planetary Scattering, which actually comes in Astronomer's Visual Pack Interstellar version. Now, you're probably wondering, well, Hot Jupiter, why didn't you just use the Interstellar version? And it's just simply because, for whatever reason, the Kerbal gods have aligned against me. I cannot run Interstellar. It just crashes. You'll have to forgive me, I only have 8 gigabytes of RAM. I assume I'd probably need something like 12 to run that mod with all the other mods. It's just very RAM intensive, and everything I tried opening an OpenGL mode, I tried dialing back the resolution, I tried cutting back KSP's resolution, I tried closing every single program on my computer except KSP, and no matter what I did, I could not get the damn thing to run. So I've kind of just made like a hybrid mod. Again, it's the Astronomer's Visual Pack Edge of Oblivion with the light scattering and planet shine mods installed, so that's why it looks a little more blue. Looks like it actually has air, you know, breathable air and atmosphere. I think that looks so awesome. And these are just the auroras that come with the standard Edge of Oblivion, which honestly I think the clouds look better in this version than they do in Interstellar. But anyway, don't tell the astronomer that. Well, let's just continue. The whole point of this is to look at the Endurance mod, not ogle over how beautiful Kerbin looks. So let's go ahead and check it out in the vehicle assembly building. Now, I did try to record this a few days ago. This was supposed to come out on Thursday or Friday, but every time I tried to do it, it crashed, but I tweaked some settings, and hopefully it should work now. But anyway, now the Endurance mod has just a bunch of stuff scattered all throughout the tabs here. So what I've done is I made a separate mod, and I even made it look like the Endurance ring. Isn't that cute? I made a separate tab, because you can do this now in version 9, for just the Endurance only, and I added all the parts that come with the Endurance mod to make my life a little easier and a little less boring for you to watch, so I don't have to go and pick through everything. But so let's go ahead and talk about the main, I guess you could call it the main command part of it, is the structural ring. Let's place that down there, and as you can see, it sure is a ring. It's like your standard circular space station design, just like in the movie Interstellar, with, I guess, they got little windows over here and here just so the crew can look out of. I think those are just specifically for effect. I don't think you can actually look through those. But as you can see, there's a lot of spots to put docking ports. You can just slap a bunch of these babies on here. I do know that these slanted ones are for the Rangers because, and as I'll show you in a minute, the Ranger has a slightly slantier docking port on the back of it, but you can just load this thing up to your heart's desire with docking ports. And there's even one down here. But I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just going to kind of go through the basics. Next, we have these little boxes that come with it. First one, I guess, well, actually, we'll look at the fuel assembly. So it kind of looks like a little rectangular thing. Now, I believe we do need to turn on the angle snap for this to work properly. It's kind of temperamental. Now, if you put it on like that, that is actually incorrect. It needs to be flipped. And I only know this because there's an actual fully completed one that comes with it. But so we'll just hit the E key twice, and I believe that is the proper orientation. Now, these are the fuel assembly bays. They come with a generator that's always active, so you never run out of power. It's got RCS, thrusters, monopropellant, liquid fuel, oxidizer, all these things in there. You can take a look at all the impact tolerances and whatnot. But the most important thing is, don't forget, you got to slap this engine down here, and it is the Endurance Deep Space Engine, an incredibly efficient plasma thruster designed to propel the Endurance Space Exploration System. Max thrust 650, engine ISP 800 in atmosphere, but a whopping 4200 in a vacuum, which makes this the most powerful and efficient engine in the entire game. Of course, it's a mod, so it's designed to be that way, but don't go looking for this kind of power and efficiency elsewhere in the vanilla version. You ain't gonna find it. So, if you want to make it just like the movie, you slap, I guess you'd slap on 4 of these things, and I believe it goes something like this, and then you go every 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe, like this. Just flip it around again, and you pop another one right over here. This way it's nice and even. You generate an even thrust that propels the ring forward. If these are off at all, unbalanced, the ring is not going to work the way you like. You're going to be very upset with me. And you're going to be very upset with the awesome people who made this mod. But anyway, next we have the crew cabin. Now, again, I'm not going to build this precisely the way it looks in the movie. We're just going to kind of go through all the other components. Now, again, this is very finicky, but I do guarantee you it does snap on here somewhere. Come on, you little bastard. Jeez. Oh, here we go. You kind of had to dink around with it. I just pressed the E key, rotate it around. I do believe that is how it goes. You kind of want all the boxes mostly hanging out outside the ring. See, there's about 2/3 of it outside of the ring, only about one little sliver. Now, this thing holds crew. Let's take a look. Max crew capacity 4. It's a pressure vessel filled with everything you need to keep Kerbals alive in deep space, designed to be used with the Endurance Space Exploration System. Basically, it just holds crew. You can go IVA with this, but unfortunately it just looks like the stock Kerbal, what do you call that thing? The hitchhiker storage. That's what it looks like for now. I'm not sure if they're planning on making it look any cooler. But you could always just copy that over and slide it over to this side if you wanted. But let's go to the next one, the command module. Let's see if I press the... There we go. Looks very similar to the crew storage, but it is a little different. It has this little extra box up here. Command module holds 3 crew, and as you can see the reaction wheels, you have a whopping 15 torque for all the pitch, roll, and yaw, all the gimbals of motion. That's way more. I think the standard capsule only has 1.0, so this thing gets some serious torque, some serious gyration in space. It does hold electric charge, this has monopropellant, and it's basically if you wanted to have a manned crew pilot the Endurance, which is unnecessary. The ring will power itself on its own kind of computerized brain, I guess you could call it, but if you wanted to have some crew in there, there you go. And the logistics module is the last little box. Now this baby, what does this thing do? It does not hold any crew. It's a pressure vessel filled with everything you need, but we already read that. It just holds electric charge and more monopropellant. So just holding more of the necessary resources. Now again, you can go and load up this thing. I think it requires 2 of each one. So you can just go around the ring, popping them all on there, and then you'll have yourself a completed ring. Very nice. Now the last thing, you can notice that each one of these has a little empty box underneath. That's for these little things here. Now, the Habitat Assessment Unit, I believe, is just a science bay, and it's just like taking your science readings. I guess you right-click it when you're in space, and it'll do the same thing as like taking a GU report or a Science Junior, and so you can get that science. So I believe you just take that and you just kind of lodge it up in there. Again, it's kind of temperamental. You got to get the right angle. I'm trying to rotate it around. Maybe I got to flip it. Well, somehow it works. Come on, you little bastard. Get in there. Oh, oh. I'm okay, Shift E. There we go. Jeez, okay, so that's what those things go underneath there. The next thing, I guess, freight transport is another thing you could stick up under there. What does that do? Definitely not a modified shipping container. Like, seriously, it's real high tech, we promise. Yeah, I guess it just holds more. It holds, well, it couldn't hold modules. Okay, so like if you want to stick, I don't know, things in there, or electric charge it holds. I'm not really too sure. You guys can dink around with that. This thing is a mobile science lab. Deploy this on a planet, pop out the legs, and do some science. Okay, so this is meant to like go down in a lander, I guess. Or, yeah, I'm not really, again, not sure how you would exactly employ this. But, again, it goes down to planets and it acts as a science bay. You need a crew to operate. Oh, I'm guessing this is just like the mobile science lab in the regular Kerbal Space program. It's very similar to that, I suppose. And then deployable habitation unit. And this will store crew on a planet too. So if you want to set up like a little base on your planet, you can just pop these babies in the Endurance and I guess somehow get them down to the planet. And Bob's your uncle, there you go. You got yourself a nice little base. But let's take a look at some other things. In fact, let's load up the Endurance stock. Now the mod does come with the fully completed ring, which we're going to look at right now. Yes, and here it is, fully completed. They were nice enough to make it exactly like the movie. So you don't have to worry about, oh, did I do this right? Or when, and as you can see, the engines are spaced appropriately. Nice and balanced so that you get a nice balanced thrust. And it looks like they kind of went like every other space. They like did one thing and then another one and then a different one. Just so it's, I guess, evenly spaced out with the different modules. And as you can see, they loaded it up with all kinds of docking ports. Supported it with these nice struts here. Quite nice. And if you look at the Kerbal Engineer Redux, I love this thing. You can see that the ring itself gets a nice, astonishing 15,000 meters per second. You could probably launch this thing right from Kerbin's surface, exactly like this. It does have enough thrust to get it into space, into orbit, and you could probably fling this thing at Joule and back before running out of Delta V. That's how powerful these engines are. But I like to go a little more realistic with it, and I'll show you what I did for a launcher in just a minute. Let's go through the Ranger now. We'll take a look at the Ranger body. Let's say you wanted to mess around with the Ranger, and yes, it does come with the Ranger, which is so sweet. I'm just gonna put it down sideways. There we go. Now there's a lot of different parts we gotta put on the Ranger here. Let's go back to my Endurance button here. Because right now it doesn't really look like much, but believe you me. So here we go. The aerodynamic surface, I believe, sticks on the back here. You know what would be easier? Let's do this in the plane, the airplane wing. Yes, here we are. It's just, it makes more sense in the airplane hangar. Oh, look at the flag right there. It's neat. Alright, so we'll go back to our Endurance and we'll grab the aerodynamic surface. And I believe this, yeah, see, it makes a little more sense now. Don't try to build this thing in the VAB. You're just going to give yourself a really hard time. You're going to be really upset when things don't snap in correctly. But here we go. And you can see it's starting to look like it. Here's the docking port. This goes right in the back. Now I would turn off the angle snap, press the C key. This way it gets in there a little more smart. There we go. Alright, next we have the forward left landing gear. Now these things attach right to here, and that is indeed the landing gear. We'll do the other one now. Nice. We can already see it's starting to look like the Ranger from the movie. Now, I believe these things do have a lift rating. Yes, all these things have lift rating, because if not, there's no way this thing would fly. I mean, look at it. It doesn't really exactly look like your standard airplane, but rest assured, it is a very, very capable SSTO. Here's the front RCS blocks, and I just love the way that these things look. Very sleek. Very modern. If you take a look, the different angles of the thrusters, it just fits right along the body there. I just love it. They did such a good job with this. Next we have the left engine. Come in here, just pop that baby right in there. We have the lift engine. Yes, this thing does have a lift engine. It goes right in the bottom. It applies thrust in a downwards fashion to lift the SSTO straight up into the air. It's kind of like a little VTOL in a way, which if you've seen Interstellar, you kind of know what I mean. Here's the RCS middle blocks. We'll just pop these right here. Again, very, very sleek. This is how they make RCS blocks nowadays. And you can assume Interstellar probably takes place somewhere in the mid to late 21st century, so they would be using these more sleek, in kind of like in the fuselage type, rather than the clunky, 20th century, moonlander ones where they have those goofy little jets going like across. This looks a little better. I like it. Not that there's anything wrong with those, of course. Let's take a look at the rear blocks. We'll snap those on. So there we go. We are fully RCS capable now. Let's also put the right engine in here. There we go. I think we got to just put the landing unit. Can I do two at a time? No, this one's a little finicky. You kind of have to do one at a time. I don't think it really matters which one you put where, as long as you put two. There we go. Now it looks like you can't really see them, and it's calling it the RCS block, but they're there. Trust me, they're in there. Let's see, did I miss anything? I think that's it. Usually what I like to do, though, I like to add on here, we'll get rid of that, lights in the back. Just because when you're docking this thing, let's see if we turn off the angle snap. Here we go. Because when you're docking this thing facing backwards, especially like if you're at night, it's just impossible to see. So I just like to throw on a couple lights back there. If you got a better system, go ahead, use it. That's just the one I like to do. Let's take a look at the action groups. Now, custom 1, I make usually the two engines, toggle them. And custom 2, I make the lift engine. Okay, this way I can just easily switch back and forth between the lift engine and the rear-facing thrusters. Makes it a little easier. And that is your standard Ranger. That comes with the pack. Of course, you don't have to build it if you're lazy. You can just come over here, Ranger stock, load that bad boy up if you're lazy like me. And there you have your completed Ranger already, fully assembled, pre-packaged, ready to go. Next thing that comes with the mod is the lander from the movie. Now, these were those big bulky things that attached to the side of the ring, and they went down to the planets. I guess they had all the storage and other components that they would need when they started colonizing the different planets. So this pretty much comes pre-made. If you did want to load this one up separately, there is something. The only assembly this requires is the lift engines, which are already on there if you preload it. But if you wanted to build it from scratch, all you'd have to do is put on the 4 lift engines on the bottom. And that thing's ready to go. 2 docking ports in case you want to put it in an alternate configuration. Big powerful engines in the back. Big powerful engines on the bottom. Let's see what the action groups of this one are. Custom 1 is the whatchamacallit? The lander fuselage. Probably these back engines. Custom 2 is the lift engines. Excuse me, I just had to mute to sneeze. I learned the hard way not to sneeze directly into the microphone. People tend not to like that for some strange reason. But anyway, there's one more ship that comes with the Interstellar, or rather the Endurance mod, is the Viper, which I don't think was in the actual movie. And it's just basically a very, very mini version of the Ranger. Very, very mini. I'm not really sure what the point of it is. Probably just like maybe a little shuttle, zip some crew back and forth between here and there. I don't really use it. It doesn't really go with the movie, and plus it doesn't have any docking, so I don't really know where you'd throw this thing. If you could figure it out, go ahead. Go right ahead and use it. I just like to use the other ones that were in the movie. Now, let's go back to the VAB and let's launch this ring into space. Okay, so as I said before, I did make an Endurance with a launcher, and I saved it as a craft file. You can build it yourself. It's really not that difficult. It's just a little complicated because of the way the ring is, and symmetry gets a little messed up. But basically, what I've done is I've strapped onto each ring module one of these big giant fuel tanks. I'll show you the one I'm talking about here. It is these ones here, the Kerbal 14,400 ones. And on the bottom of those, I stuck on a bunch of these ones, the KR2L. Plenty of thrust, doesn't use up that much fuel, and I've just strapped on the big giant large boosters. These are all stock parts that come with Kerbal Space Program. Where am I looking here? The SRBs. Strapped on these SRBs with Stepatrons because they tend to crash into the engines and cause all sorts of havoc. Now, just one more thing I am going to do before I launch this thing, because I do plan on putting this in space, docking all the equipment on there and taking her to Joule. That's what the series is going to go. I'm going to throw on some lights, because every time I try to do this, it somehow just ends up being very dark. So we're just going to try to, well, it doesn't really work too well, does it? We're just going to go down to 1. No, that's not what I meant to do. No, don't do that. That's wrong. That's all wrong. Here we go. We're just going to point them at the actual ring itself. I'm going to put another one facing the opposite direction. Just to kind of shed some light. This tilted a little funny. There we go. Just to shed some light on the docking ports so we can see what they look like. And I might just put another one right here as well. Here we go. Because sometimes this thing, like I said, it gets very dark and it's hard to see things, so you're going to want to just illuminate the ring as much as possible. I suppose you could go ahead and put lights on each one of these pointed inwards to help you also, but this should be fine. I haven't really found that I needed to do that much, so we'll just save that. Yeah, I just named it Endurance with Launcher. And again, it doesn't need any crew. It's robotic and get to space by itself. And it generally gets into orbit. It's got a little extra delta V just to push it off the planet. Lots of staging. It was kind of a staging nightmare, as you can see. But it works. I tested it. So let's see if we can do this. Let's launch this baby. And well, here we are on the launch pad, and as you can see, it's very big. The game has had to kind of make these floating blocks just to keep all these support struts on the straight and narrow. Here's the new Kerbal Flight Engineer. I just love this thing. You don't even need to have this up because it's got all the stats you need right here, but I like to keep it up anyway because I'm used to looking at it, and I just kind of like how sleek and they made it. It's like kind of out of the way now. It used to be a lot bigger. But anyway, let's get the SAS cranked, and we're just going to crank up the engines to about there. And let's launch this bad thing in 3, 2, 1. Oh my, she's a heavy thing, she is. But we have plenty of thrust. We can do it. There's our shadow receding away from us. As we gain altitude in these oh so pretty clouds. Very, very nice. And I'm just going to watch the thrust. I'm just going to limit it down to about 2/3 because we don't want to accelerate too fast, too shallow in the atmosphere. We want to get a little higher before we start really thrusting. I want to keep that acceleration down. If you've watched any of my other Kerbal videos, you know why. It's just a matter of aerodynamics. The atmosphere will start pushing back on you if you push too hard on it. When you're too low in the atmosphere, it's too thick here. Again, I'm just going to back the thrust off just a little bit more. It's okay if we dip down a little bit. It'll start pushing right back up again. Right around the 7 or 8 kilometer mark, these are going to run out. We're going to release those. Hopefully they won't destroy these engines. because these Separatrons are right there. Usually they don't destroy anything, and that looks awesome. Just a big giant ring powering through the atmosphere there. It's going to throttle down even more. And also the idea is to save this fuel. We want these boosters doing most of the work. After all, that's what they're designed to do. They do most of the work, while the other engines just kind of lazily sit there and coast. It's going to go down to 1/3 thrust now. Acceleration is still at 1g, so we're okay. This is a fine speed to be at. These should be out in just a couple of seconds. We are now above the clouds. Oh, there's the moon right there. Beautiful. Here we go. Let those go. Kick up this thrust up to about 2 Gs. 2/3 thrust. See you later, solid fuel boosters. Man, that just looks so awesome. So freaking awesome. Wow. Alright, let's start turning this thing. Now this thing is going to get some crazy altitude really fast, because at this point it just starts really pushing against the thinning atmosphere. Plus these engines, it's a little OP, but hey, sometimes you need to go big to get off planet Kerbal with a big giant ring space station. You can see our apoapsis is 23 and rising very, very rapidly. That's why I'm turning this thing rather aggressively towards the east, just to get some lateral motion, our surface velocity up a little bit. Apoapsis is already at 30. I'm just going to keep turning this thing. Let's take a look. Very pretty planet. Look at this planet, my goodness. What a mod. What a mod this is. Highly recommend you check it out. Mr. Astronomer is a very nice guy. He was nice enough to post my tutorial on his website. I'm very thankful for that. Oh, look at that. Look how cool those little circular puffs of smoke are. God, I love that. Just gonna keep on pushing towards the horizon. Basically almost fully 90 degrees now. Just going to leave it a little bit right there. We do want to still get some height as well as speed. So I think I'm just going to leave it just like that, and that is beautiful. Look at that shot right there. To the moon! To the moon! Right, 70 kilometers, apoapsis. I'm going to let it get up to about 150, just so we can get some nice visuals. Now we're probably going to run out of fuel, but that's okay. I just wanted to get most of that work done with these big giant engines. We'll leave just a little bit of work. Maybe we'll get to 200. Just a little bit more. There we go, 200, that's fine. Let's see, we have 0.9 seconds of delta V left over. We might as well just extinguish it. You know what? No, we'll wait. I don't want to push it up any further than 200. So that is just a stellar sight, an interstellar sight. No, not really. It's just a view of the planet. But you know me. I like to be cheesy. All right, let's put our maneuver node here. I guess you could consider this high Kerbal orbit. That's a perfect orbit for a space station, I think. You get a nice view of the planet. Put this here to circularize it. Here's something I love about Kerbal version 9, is you can hit the maneuver node button there, and your craft will try to find the maneuver node as best as it can. This thing is a little cumbersome though. It's probably going to swing right by it, so I'm just gonna, just do one of those maneuvers. It's not cheating, it's in the game. I'm gonna get yelled at by all the purists out there. But anyway, I love that. This little like SAS function here with .90, it's amazing. You can point your ship anywhere. It's kind of like the early days of MechJeb, where the smart ASS, you're able to hit, if you want to face prograde, you hit prograde, and retrograde, you hit retrograde. And this is basically the same thing. It's like a built-in MechJeb, only it's not cheating. Oh look, so we... Again, it's not perfect, because we seem to be drifting away from that maneuver node. So I'm just going to kind of manually try to shift it over with the RCS. Here's a little RCS thrusters here. And we'll just hold the attitude there manually. Yeah, these little functions don't really work too well with the ring. For whatever reason, it just doesn't like it very much. Maybe it's just too big. Too big and clunky. They work great for the Ranger, though. Turn, you bastard! Here we go. So let's get to our maneuver node. We're going to have to burn another, basically 300, which we will be doing with the Interstellar drive, the ring drive, right? The plasma thrusters. We're getting some nice height off the planet now. Love it. Let's get a little further out as we approach the apoapsis. We're going to be in the dark side. Let it get to about right here. It's not perfect, but again, these engines are going to burn themselves out as soon as we hit them. There they go. Let them go, and then we'll power up the endurance. Beautiful. Those things will re-enter the atmosphere, and they will crash down on the planet while we safely get into orbit. There they are, thrusting away. They kind of just light up. They don't really, like, there's no fancy effects. They just kind of light up, but that's okay. They're plasma drives. That's what they do, I guess. They just light up. And there we go. Beautiful. That's us in orbit with the Endurance. Let's take a look at the map. 211 by 208. It's not a perfect circle, but heck, that's okay. It'll do just fine. So what I'm going to do is just rename this thing to just regular Endurance. The Endurance. And it's a space station, definitely. I mean, sure, it's a base, but we'll call it a space station. I just like that. I like that icon a little better. Looks better than the little base floating around in space. That's us. So in the next video, what we're going to do is launch up all the other parts and dock them together. I want to get it just like the movie. 2 Rangers over here, 2 Landers over here, and if I'm feeling feisty, maybe something else over here or over there. Who knows? Who knows what we'll do? Actually, I'm kind of just... It's the mobile analysis unit they have docked in there. The deployable habitation unit. By the way, don't press inflate while it's on the ring. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. You'll thank me later. I made that mistake once, and it was very, very poor. In fact, I'm going to quick save it. Conduct habitability assessment. Let's see what this does. This location is not ideal. Yeah, probably because there's no atmosphere. So I guess just like the movie, it's like looking for a habitable place to call home. I wonder if these things... Yeah, I'm not even sure how you undock that thing. Oh, maybe you got to put a crew in there. I don't even know. The whole point of this video is really just to show how awesome it looks. You guys can dink around. But anyway, in the next video, look forward to launching Rangers and Landers and some docking, and maybe we'll take off towards Jewel. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.